A Yoruba king was dragged out of his own palace and killed. Not on a battlefield, not on the road, inside his palace. And the president of Nigeria has said absolutely nothing, not one word. That is where this story begins, and it gets heavier from there. On February 18, 2026, Oba Kehinde Faledon, a traditional ruler in Ondo State, was abducted from his palace by suspected headsmen and murdered. In Yoruba culture, a king's palace is sacred ground. It is the most protected, most revered space in any community. The fact that armed men walked into that space, took a king and killed him, and the highest office in the land remained completely silent is what has pushed a major Yoruba socio-cultural group to the edge of their patience. The group is called Igbimo Majeko Baje Ilé-Yorùbá. And on Sunday, February 22nd, 2026, they released a statement that pulled no punches. The statement was issued by the union's convener, Olushala Badero, and released through its home director, Princess Balogun. Their accusation against President Bola Tinubu is direct and serious. They say he is not just failing to protect Yoruba traditional rulers. They say he is aiding and emboldening the Fulani extremists who are carrying out these attacks through his consistent, deliberate silence. That word, deliberate, is important because this group is not saying the president is unaware. They are saying he is aware and he has chosen to look away. And they have receipts going back years to support that claim. They brought up a moment many Nigerians remember. When Tinubu visited Afenifere leader Reuben Fasoranti after his daughter Funke Olokuni was shot dead by suspected Fulani headsmen in Ondo State in 2019, Tinubu reportedly stood there and asked, "Where are the cows?" Publicly, at a condolence visit. The union called that remark dismissive and insensitive, and they are now holding it up as proof that this pattern of minimizing Fulani extremist violence did not start last week. It has been there all along. Now let us go through what has happened to Yoruba monarchs because the list is long and it needs to be heard. In January 2024, two kings in Ekiti State, the Oni Omojo of Imojo Ekiti and the Eleson of Esu Ekiti, were ambushed and killed by suspected Fulani headsmen while driving back from a community meeting. A third king, the Alara of Ara Ekiti, survived only because he escaped. 3 kings, 1 ambush, and the federal government's response was barely a whisper. 1 month later, in February 2024, the Olukoro of Koro in Kwara State, Oba Peter Segun Aremu, was murdered inside his palace while sitting down to eat dinner. He had just come back from a security meeting at a local government secretariat. His grandson ran out through the back door while the attackers killed the king and kidnapped his wife. A man came home from a meeting about security and was killed before his food got cold. Then in December 2025, Oba Kamelu Salami of Bayagan Ile community in Kwara State was kidnapped and spent 25 days in captivity. 25 days. In January 2026, headsmen stormed the Aafin community in Kwara State and abducted Oba Seluya Olaonipekon alongside his own son. And in Kogi State, Oba Dada Ogunyada was held hostage for 28 days before being released after a reported ransom of 50 million naira. If the story is hitting different for you, if you are feeling the weight of what is being described here, this is the exact kind of coverage this channel exists to bring you. Please subscribe right now and turn on the notification bell. This community is growing because people like you believe that these stories deserve to be told properly. The union's conclusion is clear and unsparing. They said that never in the entire history of the Yoruba traditional institution have Fulani extremists killed and kidnapped monarchs at this rate. And they tie this surge directly to the period when the APC and Tinubu came into power. They are not framing this as a coincidence. They are framing it as a failure of leadership so consistent that it looks like a choice. They also turned to face Yoruba people themselves and issued a warning. They said those who stay silent when they should be speaking may one day find themselves at the mercy of the same extremists they refused to challenge. And in a surprising move, they called on traditional rulers to detach themselves from partisan politics, arguing that loyalty to political parties has stripped these monarchs of their moral authority and left their communities unprotected. So here is where everything lands today. Kings are being killed in their palaces. Monarchs are spending weeks in the hands of kidnappers. An organized and prominent Yoruba group is publicly accusing the president of Nigeria of a silence that borders on complicity. and 2027 is approaching fast. The question is yours. Do you believe Tinubu's silence on the killing of Yoruba traditional rulers is a failure, or is there a side to this story that is not being told? Drop your answer in the comments because this conversation is one that every Nigerian needs to be part of.